This is the Armstrong and Getty Show on 9:10 a.m. More stimulating talk. What are you doing?
What, do you have any idea what you're doing?
What are you doing?
It froze.
What are you doing?
The computer froze?
Mm. So now what?
We're fine now. We're back.
What?
We're fine now. We're back.
It froze, and then it unfroze itself.
We'll play our music then.
Okay, here we go.
Like to apologize.
Welcome to the Armstrong and Getty Show. I'm Jack Armstrong. He's Joe Getty.
Oh, the irony police have laid down their arms and gone back to their homes. Jesse Jackson is now on MSNBC. Speaking of which, anyway, welcome to the show. What?
Well, he's talking to Contessa Brewer from MSNBC.
Oh, she's the one that called him Al Sharpton, right?
Right.
So do you know who Moodys is?
Yes, not the Bible Institute, but the bond rating agency.
Yes.
Not an agency, they're a company.
Yeah, and they rate countries just like you have a credit rating. You know, you go to buy a house and you find out what your number is, and if it's 800, you get a better rate than if it's, I was going to say 500. If it's 500, you probably don't get a loan at all.
Right. They rate states, too. California, the lowest.
California's got the lowest rating. But the United States of America has a AAA rating. That's the best you can get. There are only 3 countries that have had a AAA rating since Moodys started. The United States, Britain, actually there are 4. The United States, Britain, France, and Germany have always been rated AAA since Moodys started doing this in 1949.
If you buy bonds, they will pay them. Period.
But they announced a couple of weeks back that the United States has moved closer than it has ever before to losing its AAA status. And that if it continues to spend more than it takes in at the rate that it is, it could lose its AAA status.
Wow.
Which is a big deal. We're not close to that happening yet, but we're closer than we've been before. That's just what they're saying.
So debt would become much, much more expensive for us.
Yeah.
Just like the fictional house buyer you discussed.
And this, you probably heard this story. I heard it, and it was reprinted a bunch of different places. But further down in the story, and it took me a while to find this version of the story, because the reprint of the story usually carried the first couple of paragraphs. You get further down in the story of what Moodys reported. They do a report on the United States financial situation. And it included all that just stuff I just said about losing a AAA rating. And it says, preserving debt affordability at levels consistent with AAA ratings will invariably require fiscal adjustments of a magnitude that in some cases will test social cohesion.
Wow.
Which I thought was a major deal.
Wow.
Why this didn't get more attention, I don't know.
Say that again, would you? There are a lot of big words there.
Preserving debt affordability at levels consistent with AAA ratings, we can skip all that. That's just say keeping your AAA rating.
Right.
Will require fiscal adjustments. Okay. That means going to have to cut programs.
And or tax increases.
Or tax increases.
Right.
Of a magnitude that will, in some cases, test social cohesion. They're talking about what's going on over in Greece, for instance. People are going to be ready to riot.
I'm telling you, white folk are ready to riot!
And not just white folk. It's going to be all kinds of folk.
I love that guy's voice. It's like a foghorn.
The big ratings agency said the only way we're going to be able to keep our AAA rating is to do things that are going to cause social unrest.
Yes.
Isn't that amazing? How did that not get more attention?
I don't know. That's a good question. Because, various folks like to talk about, there's a lot of anger. The Tea Party's angry. They're angry people. There's a lot of anger. You ain't seen anger yet.
That's what Moodys is saying.
I know.
That's wild, isn't it?
Wild.
And they're stating it as it's got to happen.
Yeah.
If you're going to keep your AAA rating, you're going to have to raise taxes, cut programs, combination of the two, that's going to cause craziness in the streets.
Yeah. Well, that'll be exciting for talk radio.
So that's more or less a guarantee from Moodys that we are going to have social unrest.
And that was ignored.
That was ignored, yes. That was ignored.
Wow.
We're so soft and complacent. It's been this way for so long. We just can't imagine it happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, it won't. I mean, sure, but we've always
find a way out.
Always had deficits, and they've had that clock in New York City with the whole debt clock. That's been up there for years, and whatever.
We've been hearing that we're heading for a disaster for decades. Yeah.
At some point, you get there, and according to Moodys, we are getting there.
Isn't that funny?
Social unrest is upon us.
It's like a kid in the back of the car in New Jersey saying, I've been hearing we're headed for New York for 2 weeks now. Bull crap.
Gonna be exciting. Gonna be exciting.
Get an axe handle. Arm yourself.
And according to Lawrence O'Donnell, a socialist, the biggest tax increase in our nation's history was passed yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So there's one step in that direction for lack of social cohesion.
Yeah, I tell you what,
cuts to come. This is what's really going to get people worked up. People having their tax raises, it's got the Tea Party going, and you get very, very mad about it. But taxes going up don't seem to lend itself to people rioting in the street as much as programs being cut.
Well, it's too few people, and we have jobs. But I wonder how many cuts will come, because they will raise the income tax rate to 70%. Before they do any real hardcore cutting.
Well, I don't know. You're going to have a Republican House here in 2 years, so.
You think? Are you on the record as
not in 2 years.
Predicting it?
In 1 year.
Yeah. 10 months.
Of course, last time around, the Republican House didn't cut anything and spent money like crazy.
Correct.
So.
Are you alleging that they're full of crap and hypocrites?
I don't know why you'd expect that to change.
Bold words that I've put in your mouth. Brother.
That's a heck of a thing, man.
I know. Come on now.
How's that not get more attention? The bank has said what you're going to have to do to keep from going bankrupt is going to make people crazy.
It's like if you apply for a mortgage and the Experian or whatever calls you up and says, put me on the speakerphone. Joe, Judy, being able to afford this house, you guys are going to have to make changes in your lifestyle. That's probably going to make you want to leave, Judy. You're probably not going to stick with him because you're going to have to make such severe changes. It's going to be a totally different life for you and the kids.
Your kids are going to have to work full-time jobs. One of the two adults is going to have to turn tricks.
Got to sell both of your cars and start taking the bus to the Greyhound station where you're going to turn tricks.
You're going to have to start eating sand.
Right. You're going to have to go through your neighbor's garbage for food.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, that is unbelievable.
I know it. It's coming. And when it's here, and there's no fixing it at this point. It's baked into the cake, as they say.
Do they say that?
Some people say that. I say that.
I like that expression. I didn't know that expression. That's a new one on me.
That's good. And it is baked into the cake. Money's been spent.
Yeah.
This money's been spent. Social Security money, it's all spent.
Right.
All this money has been spent. It's gone. It's got to happen.
Yeah.
And when it happens, we're all going to be going, how did this happen? We can't let it happen again. But it'll take decades to slog our way out.
Right. It's Joe Getty's principle of assumed permanence. I just came up with that. My parents are a great example. They never had any expectation there would be a Medicare prescription plan as children in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, early 60s. When did that pass?
65. Medicare passed in 65.
No, I'm talking about the plan that passed under Bush.
The prescription drug.
Yeah. Anyway, they never had any assumption of that in their entire lives. But now that it's here and they work with it and they live with it and it's part of their budget, et cetera, if there were an announcement that this has got to end, we can't afford it, that would be shocking, scary, disturbing, and cause for much angst among my parents because it's worked into their life now.
Sure.
It's part of the structure of their lives, financially speaking, anyway. And so that's why these expenditures in these programs never go away. And how you can scare people into voting one way or another because they think, well, it's always been that way. It's always got to be that way.
Well, it's going to test social cohesion in the coming years.
To the extent that there is any. I'll tell you what.
These riots in these school campuses are just the beginning of the sort of things we're going to see.
Yeah, students will riot because it's too humid. I mean, they'll riot over anything. It's when the working people get up in arms. But the giant amnesty fight for illegals is coming in the spring. That's going to cause more unhappiness.
Anyway.
Say goodbye, social cohesion, and to get plenty of ammo.
What to what?
Yeah, you heard me.
The country is going straight into the dumper.
You are listening to the Armstrong and Getty Show.
Gonna lie.